بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين أحمده سبحانه وأشكره اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is part 2 of the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. In part 1 we covered Prophet Ibrahim's early life as well as his tests while establishing monotheism. We left off when Ibrahim was with his wife Sarah and her maidservant at the time Hajar in Egypt. After that they went back to Palestine. At that time Prophet Ibrahim and Sarah were growing old and they did not have a child. So out of compassion, Sarah suggested that Ibrahim marry Hajar so that they might have a child. And Ibrahim alayhi salam accepted her suggestion, married Hajar, and they were blessed with a son. And that son was Ismail alayhi salam. Then Allah Azza wa Jal commanded Ibrahim through divine inspiration, through wahi, to take Hajar and baby Ismail to a barren valley with no crops. That valley was Mecca, which at the time was uninhabited. Obeying Allah's command, Prophet Ibrahim took Hajar and Ismail to Mecca in the middle of the desert. When they arrived, Ibrahim left his wife and son and he began to depart without saying anything. Hajar called out to him asking, "Why are you leaving us in this place where there are no people or no food?" But Ibrahim alayhi salam did not respond. She continued calling after him until she asked, she said, "Is this something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded you to do?" At this question, Prophet Ibrahim turned to her and said, "Yes." So Hajar replied, saying, "Go then, for surely Allah will not forget us." Days passed and Hajar and Ismail eventually ran out of food and water. Hajar began running back and forth between the hills of Al-Safa and Al-Marwa, the same place where Muslims perform Sa'i during Umrah and Hajj today. She traversed between the two hills, the Safa and Al-Marwa, hoping to find someone or something to help them. At the seventh time, she sat at Al-Marwa, placing her baby Ismail beside her. Suddenly, she noticed a shadow moving near Ismail. It was the angel Jibreel alayhi salam. Then the famous miracle took place. Jibreel struck the ground next to Ismail's head with his wing, and water began gushing out from earth. This miraculous spring is known as Zamzam water, and water still comes out of it today. Hajar and Ismail drank from the spring and valley, and the valley that they were in began to flourish with water and vegetation. The area became habitable, providing sustenance for Hajar and her son Ismail. As time passed, a traveling tribe known as Qabila Jurhum, they were traveling from Yemen, and as they were in the desert, they noticed a bird flying. This bird was flying over a particular area and going over that area, and this was a sign that there might be water in it. So Qabila Jurhum, the tribe, they followed this bird until they arrived at Mecca, where Hajar and Ismail were. And the tribe asked Hajar for permission to settle in that area where there was the Zamzam water, and she agreed. So Ismail grew up among the Jurhum tribe, eventually marrying one of their women. Now going back to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, after he left his wife Hajar and his son Ismail in Mecca, he went back to Palestine, to his wife Sarah. One day, while sitting with his wife, 3 men appeared at his home. Ibrahim welcomed them and prepared food for them. However, he noticed something unusual about these 3 men. The 3 men did not eat the food. It was strange, until one of the men spoke out and said, "O Ibrahim, I am Jibreel, and with me are Israfil and Mikael." They were 3 angels in the form of human beings, and they came with a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they said, "First, we are sent to punish the people of Lut alayhi salam, and secondly, we want to bring you good news. The good news is that Allah will bless Sarah with a child." Hearing this, Sarah was overjoyed, for she and Ibrahim had grown old without having any children. Soon, she was blessed with a son named Ishaq alayhi salam. This was Ibrahim's second son. So now Ibrahim has two sons, Ismail alayhi salam from Hajar, which were in Mecca, and his second son was Ishaq alayhi salam from his wife Sarah, which were in Palestine. Sometime later, when Ismail had grown older, Prophet Ibrahim visited Mecca again. He approached his son and said, "My son, I have seen in a dream that I am sacrificing you." This is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For prophets, dreams serve as a revelation or a command directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So without hesitation, Ismail replied saying, "Ya abati if'al ma tu'mar." "O my father, do as you are commanded." So with a heavy heart, Ibrahim sharpened his knife, preparing to fulfill Allah's command. He placed the knife on Ismail's neck and attempted to carry out the sacrifice. But the knife did not cut. He tried again, yet the knife did not cut. At that moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called out to Ibrahim saying, "O Ibrahim, you have fulfilled the vision." This was a test for both Ibrahim and Ismail. This was a test to see if Ibrahim would go against his will, to do something that not any human can do, and sacrifice their own son, and to see if Ismail would obey his father's command, saying that it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they have both passed this test. So Allah provided a ram from paradise to be sacrificed in place of Ismail. This event became a foundation of an Islamic ritual called Al-Udhiyah, which is being performed during Eid al-Adha to remember their obedience and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until this day. Years later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Prophet Ibrahim and Ismail to build the Kaaba, the sacred house of Allah on earth in Mecca. Together, they laid out the foundation using stones from surrounding hills. As they built the walls, Prophet Ibrahim stood on one specific stone. This stone is known as Maqam Ibrahim, and it still stands near the Kaaba today. As they constructed the Kaaba, they made a heartfelt supplication to Allah. Then, upon completing the Kaaba, Allah commanded Ibrahim to call people to pilgrimage, Hajj, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Ibrahim stood on top of a hill and said, "O people, Allah has commanded you to perform Hajj at His sacred house, so respond to His call." Allah carried out Ibrahim's voice across the earth, and every soul destined to perform Hajj until the Day of Judgment responded saying, "Labbaik Allahumma labbaik," which is, "Here I am, O Allah, here I am." The story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family is a timeless lesson in faith, sacrifice, and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In every one of his tests, Ibrahim alayhi salam had complete trust in Allah. He knew that Allah would take care of his matters, and he knew that Allah knows best. Their lives exemplify trust in Allah, perseverance through trials, and blessings that follow sincere devotion. Today, their acts of faith are remembered in Hajj, Eid al-Adha, and daily prayers of millions of Muslims worldwide. Prophet Ibrahim's lineage continued through his 2 sons, through Ismail, which is the forefather of the Arab nation, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and through Ishaq, from whom descended the prophets of Bani Israel, including Yaqub alayhi salam, making 2 ummahs. And this was the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.